Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this final candidates forum presented by the Cleveland Heights University Heights chapter of the League of Women Voters of Greater Cleveland. Ooh, thank you. This forum is presented in collaboration with our co-sponsors, the Future Heights organization, as well as the Heights Libraries. We're really pleased that you came out this evening, that you're here present, and we're also pleased to have those folks that are streaming online, and some folks are going to watch this after the event on our YouTube channel, and you can watch it too if you'd like. I'm Janice Foster, the co-chair of the Voter Services Committee, along with my colleagues Betsy Tracy and Blanche Valanci of our chapter. We collaborated and worked together to plan this event, as all the previous forums this year, and we also had help from others, but we were glad to have the opportunity to work together. They're a great group of women. We owe a special thanks, of course, to the candidates that are here tonight, Mr. Heinz, Mr. Lilly, and Ms. Primes. And we give a special thanks to the City of Cleveland Heights that have let us use this space on a complimentary basis. I also need to acknowledge my sister league members who are here volunteering this evening. A great group of women who are donating their time to make this event a success. You'll see league members in the room this evening that are operating as what we call runners, and that means if you should have a question that you would like to have presented to one or more of the candidates, we'd like you to raise your hand, and a runner will come to you and give you a card that looks like this, and you're asked to write out your question that you would like to have presented to the candidates. Logistics. There are restrooms outside the hallway, as well as a water fountain, although we've provided some water this evening. And also, if you have not attended, or if you have attended a previous forum, and you didn't have a chance to express your interest in learning more about our organization, or possibly even joining our organization, you'll find one of these little interest slips on the cards that are on the chairs that are nearby. So feel free to fill one out if you're so inclined, and then to simply leave it on the chair, and we'll pick it up at the end of the forum. These forums are funded by our education division of the League, and it's not for profit as well. If you're also so inclined to make a donation because you feel like this organization is really doing excellent work, because we think we are, we'd appreciate your making a donation at the donation box that's at the table in the hallway. And if you prefer to make a donation online, you can do that as well. There's information available outside on how you can do an online donation. Last but not least, how many of you are familiar with the Voter's Guide? Great. Well, I brought one. This is from a couple of years ago, in case for those of you who aren't familiar with it. A new edition is coming out on October the 1st, and it will have all of the information for the November 4th general election. So be on the lookout for the insert into the Heights Observer, as well as the opportunity to see the voter guide on the League website, the Heights Library website, as well as Future Heights website. So there'll be plenty of opportunities to access that information. Now I'm going to present to you our moderator for this evening. It's not Mrs. Wendy During, who we typically have for this setting. Wendy is our chairperson for our chapter, but she's away this evening. So in her stead, we have with us Ms. Catherine LaCroix. And Ms. LaCroix is a former co-president of the League of Women Voters of Greater Cleveland, and she's currently a member of the Shaker Heights League. But before becoming co-president, she was vice president. She moved up in the ranks. And as the coordinator of the League's Greater Cleveland Congressional Redistricting Position Drive in 2017, along with the campaign for the state ballot measure to reform congressional redistricting in 2018. She followed up with that activity by being a local coordinator of the redistricting reforming campaign just last year in 2024. Ms. LaCroix has been a League member for more than 20 years, and in her professional life, she's a retired environmental attorney with experience in teaching and the private practice of law. So please join me in giving a warm welcome to Ms. Catherine LaCroix.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you, Janice. We always have a few promos at the beginning, and I just want to add one or two more. For those of you who are not familiar with the League, I want to make clear we are a nonpartisan political organization. What does that mean? We're dedicated to supporting voters, voting rights, and voter education. So these forums are part of our traditional voter education activities, which we've been doing since 1920. Nonpartisan means we do not support candidates or political parties. We strive to deal with feedback on the microphones. But we can take positions on issues. So this is a source of confusion sometimes, particularly issues of importance to free and fair elections when those positions are based on League studies. We're also, as Ms. Foster pointed out, we're a membership organization. We welcome anybody. We do not discriminate on the basis of gender. In the Greater Cleveland area, we are all volunteers. Our members pay dues, make donations, and take the time to support our work. So I'm very grateful to tonight's volunteers. In addition, in our history of more than 100 years of this type of event, we have some pretty strict rules that guide League forums. Those of you who have attended others are kind of familiar with them. Notice that we have asked the candidates and their supporters to refrain from wearing any form of campaign attire or signs inside this room. Campaign materials are only allowed outside. Each candidate, we say, must appear in person. We do not allow stand-ins. It's our typical format, as will be tonight, that each candidate will have 2 minutes for an opening statement. The order is chosen by a random selection. Then we'll have a question and answer period, questions supplied by you, the audience, either now or previously in writing. And as Ms. Foster mentioned, if you have a question that you want to raise your hand. A runner will bring you a card. You can write it down. And our League volunteers will screen the questions to make sure that they're not duplicative, to make sure that I can read them when they hand me the card, and to make sure we cover an appropriate range of issues. During the question and answer, so 2-minute opening statements. During Q&A, each candidate has a minute to answer each question. It can be longer than you think. We ask the candidates use the mics at the table, remain in their place at the table. You may stand if you choose for opening and closing statements. Time limits will be strictly enforced by one of our volunteers. And finally, we ask, and this is very important, that those of you who are present in the room today avoid expressing support or opposition to any candidate during the forum. This is a time for us to listen and learn. You may react to candidates in your own time at the ballot box. So, our 3 candidates tonight are running for a place on the Cleveland Heights University Heights School Board. This is a 4-year term. It has no salary. The Board of Education is the governing body of Cleveland Heights University Heights School District. Its role is to guide the district by setting policies and educational goals for the district consistent with the needs of the community. The board also oversees the budget and the fiscal health of the district. The board hires the superintendent and the treasurer of the district. The superintendent and the school administration run day-to-day operations at the schools. So that's a key distinction between the board as a supervisory role, the administration runs the schools. There are 4 candidates running for 3 positions on the board this fall. The candidates are Raquel Davidoff, Dan Hines, Kathy Howard-Primes, and Tom Hodgkiss-Lilly. I would like to assure you that all candidates who qualify to run for office, according to the Board of Elections, are invited to participate in the candidate forum and to provide information to the League's voter guide that Janice Foster mentioned. We regret that Ms. Davidoff was not able to be with us tonight and thus far has chosen not to provide information for our League voter guide. We have also not received an opening statement to read on her behalf. However, we are grateful to the remaining 3 candidates for being here. The candidates will now have 2 minutes for opening statements, and we will begin with Mr. Hodgkiss-Lilly.
Can you hear me? Okay. My name is Tom Hodgkiss-Lilly. I'm running because I believe in the power of public education. I believe our schools should give the chance for every student to succeed, give the support and the opportunities that they deserve. I'm a product of this district. I graduated in 2004. I currently have 4 students in the district, ranging from 7 to 13, and 2 at Roxborough Middle and 2 at Boulevard Elementary. Professionally, I am a realtor with Howard Hanna, as well as an attorney in private practice doing transactional and consulting work. I also serve on the Cleveland Heights Parks and Rec Board. As a realtor, I sit at the metaphorical gates of the community. I hear what buyers, what matters to buyers in terms of the community, the schools, the taxes. It all affects their decision whether or not to live here, to move here, to send their children to schools here. And that, I think, is a perspective that I can add to the board. As a lifelong parent that would be hard. As a lifelong resident and parent of school kids in the district, I've seen firsthand the strengths and the challenges of our school district. We have world-class teachers, bright students, a terrific supportive community, but we also face real issues. We have a majority poverty school district. We have inadequate funding system in Ohio, which means more property taxes for you and I. There are concerns about what sort of curriculum requirements are. That's my time. It's been great.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Dan Hines, and I'd like to begin by thanking the League of Women Voters for hosting tonight's session. I also want to thank the voters for having sent me to the Board of Education twice. It has been one of the great joys of my life, serving on the Board of Education on behalf of the kids and taxpayers. I am also a lifelong resident of the district and proud to say that I am a product, K-12, of our great public schools, as all my brothers and sisters finished from Heights High as well. My wife also graduated from Heights, and my son graduated in 2021. There's things that I'm proud of being part of over the past 8 years. Among those are the incredible work that our students do every day in our classrooms under the help of the best group of teachers I can imagine. These are the people who taught me how to read, the folks who were in those desks before them. So I take this very, it's near to my heart. I'm also proud of the fact that your district looked Trump in the eye and said no when he demanded that we walk away from our DEI initiatives. That is work I am incredibly proud of. I'm proud that we hired a fantastic superintendent and an incredible treasurer while I've been on the board. And I'm proud that we are in the longest stretch between levies in 45 years. We've got work ahead of us. We need to increase our enrollment, and I've begun thinking a lot about that and feeling out some services that might be able to help us. I'm very proud that we're going to be initiating a gun safety curriculum, K-12, in our schools this coming year because we lose too many kids to guns. And finally, we need to continue advocating in Columbus for the funding of our classrooms and for treating our teachers with dignity. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Kathy Howard Primes, and I'm running for the Cleveland Heights University Heights School Board because I believe every student deserves access to a high-quality, equitable education. I've proudly called Cleveland Heights my home for 31 years. Raised in Dayton, Ohio, I'm a proud product of public education. In our household, education and civic engagement were non-negotiable values. I watched my mother vote in every election, instilling in me a deep respect for the power of community and participation. I hold a bachelor's degree from Ohio University in business administration and a master's degree in education from Cleveland State University. I'm also a proud graduate of the inaugural class of Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses cohort. My professional journey in education includes roles as a college counselor, a career counselor at Cleveland State University, and in 2006, I founded Momentum LLC. It is a top-rated tutoring company providing educational services throughout the state of Ohio. Our team provides academic support, ACT, SAT test prep, college and career advising, and helps districts design impactful after-school programs. And as a CEO, I've led teams, managed budgets, and built partnerships that center student success. My community service reflects my commitment to equity and empowerment, and I currently serve as the president of the Greater Cleveland Delta Foundation Life Development Center. I've also served on other boards, which include Seeds of Literacy and the East Cleveland School District Early Childhood Education Advisory Board. I bring lived experience, professional expertise, and a heart for service to this campaign, and I'm ready to be an intentional, impactful leader for the Cleveland Heights University High School Board. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much for those opening statements. I see already some questions are coming from the audience. We're now proceeding to the question and answer period. Do let the runners know if you have a question. I already have quite a stack that have been submitted previously. Each question will be asked of each candidate, and I will rotate the order to vary who goes first to the best of my ability. I might get mixed up. The time limit for each answer is 1 minute. Okay, so our first question from our viewers: how do you view the current state of our schools? What would you do to strengthen the community's trust and pride in them? And we'll start with Ms. Howard Primes.
Well, currently, how do I view the current state of education here in Cleveland Heights? I think we're doing a great job. I believe in academic excellence, and that is my platform. I call it it's the prime time to act for academic excellence, community engagement, community and family engagement, and transparency and governance. So right now, I do believe that the school district is doing a great job. Sometimes I think it's always hard for us to sell the schools because a lot of people if you're not in the schools or you don't have children in the schools, you don't get the opportunity to go into those schools. So that's always my challenge for anybody who lives in a community, whether you're a parent or not, is to visit the schools and to find time to even volunteer if you do have that time. Because right now, I believe that public schools are doing a great job.
Again, the question is, how do you view the current state of our schools? What would you do to strengthen the community's trust and pride in them? Mr. Hotchkiss-Lilly.
Is this on? Okay. I would say that our schools are doing a good job. They are generally successful. Our teachers are doing really important work. And I know this because my kids are students, and they're all doing really great. I can't imagine them doing better at anywhere else. Maybe other schools would do just as well, but they're doing great. It is not implicit in this question necessarily, but there are some who might perceive that our schools are not doing great because of state report cards, single-digit numbers that are reductionist to 3.5 stars in this case this year. But we'll get to that probably in other questions. I think our schools are doing great.
Thank you. It seems to me that this is really a question about communications, because we have a phenomenal story to share with this community, and I think that sometimes we're not as effective at communicating that message as we should be. But you know, we've got 370 kids with brand new diplomas issued in May, and those 370 kids earned $22.6 million in combined scholarship offers. That is indicative of incredibly hardworking students, committed families, and again, some of the best teachers on planet Earth. But also, a great education is not the same education for every kid. And so I'm very proud also that we offer over 20 AP courses, and we also give our kids access to more than 20 career and technical education pathways for them to walk out of Heights High and enter a middle-class job.
Thank you. Moving on to our next question, it's a bit of a combination. The question concerns the extent to which the schools and the city can enhance their work together as a collaborative unit. Of course, we have two cities. Specific items that questioners asked about concerned the pool, public access to the pool, and consideration of when and how outside groups can have free access to school facilities. So the general question is collaboration between the schools and the community and the cities, but the more specific topics that have been raised are the pool and access to school facilities by outside groups. We'll start with Mr. Hines.
I had a hunch we'd have a question about this. The truth of the matter is that I think earlier this month we solved the problem with the pool at the ballot. The Board of Education has been eager to turn the keys of our pool back over to the city for more than 3 years, and we've been very public about that. I am very eager still to turn the keys of that pool over to the city, and I am very confident that we now have city leadership that is eager to do that as well. As far as other organizations using the schools, we get requests routinely, and we have policy in place, and fill out the requests and come use the facility.
Okay, thank you. Ms. Howard Primes, same question.
Thank you for the question. Interesting enough, that was probably one of the first questions someone asked me, so I'm learning about this whole entire pool situation. But first of all, I do believe that we should collaborate, and the pool should be open to all of the residents in this school district. And regarding school access or to the facilities, I agree with that also too, because once again, we live in this community, so this is our community, and I believe that it should be shared and we should collaborate.
Now, Mr. Hotchkiss-Lilly.
About the pool specifically, as I said, I'm on the Parks and Rec board, and we saw this problem. We passed a resolution. City Council passed legislation to fund something, lifeguards, that the schools could not do. Unfortunately, as Dan mentioned, there was a roadblock politically in the mayor's office, and nothing, he sat on it, basically. I think that will change. I think that with new leadership, we will be able to work together better. And in terms of the collaboration with the city, there's also good opportunities, honestly, for our students to work possibly a role akin to maybe an internship with City Hall, or a career tech option with the city garages. So there's a lot of work, there's a lot of collaboration that could have been done better at Logan.
Okay, thank you. So our next question, we've touched on equity in a couple of the opening statements, but this question concerns perhaps the same, perhaps another aspect. Do you think schools should play a role in preparing students to live in an increasingly diverse society, and what is that role? And I guess we're starting this time with Mr. Hotchkiss-Lillard.
I think that schools at their best should prepare students in every way. We are not teaching just math. We are not teaching just science or English. Ideally, we are helping create fully formed people who can contribute to society, and ideally are good people. I think that's it.
Primes, again, the question is, do you think schools should play a role in preparing students to live in an increasingly diverse society, and what is that role?
So yes, I do believe that we should prepare all students to go beyond just graduating. As you mentioned, that we want them to be lifelong learners, right? And we know, and I know one thing that I learned, and I was taught by my mom, is that we always support, our schools and our students, because these are people that are going to take care of us later in life. So we want to make sure that everybody receives an equitable education, one that prepares them not just to graduate, but to do something and be productive citizens in our communities.
100% is how I feel about the requirement of the schools to help our kids learn to thrive in a multicultural community, because that is the community that we live in, that is the community of our nation. And I believe that it is the district's obligation to live our core principle of equity and inclusiveness. And so, this is about preparing our kids to participate in the democracy that we are passing down to them. That is what public education does. We are passing on the biggest gift that we have to the next generation, and that is our democracy itself. So absolutely 100% our kids should be prepared to interact with everybody on earth.
Tall order, but we'll go for it. Now, next, how do you see the appropriate balance between college readiness in high school and career or technical education? And we're starting with Ms. Howard Primes. How do you see the appropriate balance between college readiness in high school and career or technical education?
So if you had asked me that question 30 years ago, I probably would have said that all students should go to college. And I'm just being honest, that's what I believed, because I was a college counselor. But now that I've been in the schools now for over 20 years, I do see that there are other opportunities for students to thrive and in careers. And they can do great things being electricians and plumbers and hairstylists and all those great things. So I think I'm more open-minded to that. So I do believe that options for our students are very, very important. And I'm glad to see that here in the Cleveland Heights University High School District that we do offer those options. And I've had the opportunity to meet with the Career Consortium. I think she's the second person in charge in that position. And just talking to her and working with other school districts, I think that is a great idea to have options for all of our students. Thank you.
Hotchkiss Lily.
So not everybody needs to or should go to college. However, I do see the value in a liberal arts education, for example, and expanding your perspective. That being said, we have to let the students decide. We have to let them find their path, and we have to enable the opportunities in career tech. If college is not their path, then they should have avenues open to succeed in a different way.
Mr. Hines.
Yeah, this kind of comes back to the whole thing I was mentioning a minute ago about, one education. There's not any such thing as one education for all of our students. For many kids, college is the right path. But the thing is that kids, when you're 14 and 15 years old, you don't know what the world has to offer. You don't know what your options really are. And so one of the things that I think that we do very well at Heights High is we expose kids to some of the career paths that we can help train them up for. And again, to leave Heights High and walk into, hopefully, a middle-class life. Because while all of our kids hopefully will one day be graduates of Heights High, and we're north of 95% of that, those kids are all going to be our neighbors. And I want our neighbors to be able to provide for their families. And I think we do a pretty good job of that.
Next question, and let me know if I get confused and I forget to ask somebody. Okay, what can be done to narrow the achievement gaps among different students in the district? And this one goes to Mr. Hines first.
Boy, I'd be a bazillionaire if I had a really good answer for that question. I think that the honest truth, though, is that we just keep doing the hard work every single day. We are a district where the students in our seats are both majority minority and majority poverty. And as I like to say it, sociologists call that intersectionalism. I call it a target. And so we need to continue doing all of the incredible work that we are doing. And we need to also recognize that the traditional measures like state tests do not measure the success completely for students like ours. We know that those tests the only thing they really measure is the social capital of the community within which the test was taken. So we are doing incredible work. We are reducing barriers, but we need to fight hard every day to continue doing that and to do more of it.
Okay. Ms. Howard-Primes, what can be done to narrow the achievement
Okay,
gap?
so how do we narrow the achievement gap? So I know our report card for the Cleveland Heights University High School District just came out, and as I was reviewing it, the one thing that stood out for me that was excellent is that in closing the achievement gap, I believe we received a 4 out of 5. And so what that means is that these students, our students, are progressing annually and doing well. And so with that, I think we can continue to do what we're doing, but as I like to consider myself an expert in tutoring and support services. I think that is an excellent way to close the achievement gap. I've seen it for myself in school districts, across the state, and I do believe offering additional support services, whether it's right at the school, whether it's volunteers from the community coming in to support our students, or tutoring after-school programs. I do know that there is scientific research out there that supports that. Thank you.
One thing that people may not know if they are not in the schools or don't have kids in the schools is that we try to close this gap. This is not something that the school district is ignoring. This isn't something that people think is not a problem. We have intervention specialists at every building. We pull kids out for extra attention. There are concrete ways that we are trying to address this. In reality, every complex problem has complex solutions, and while we are doing what we can, as Dan said, this is a very complex problem, and all we can do is make small gains, and we will continue to try to find those where we can.
Fortunately, you're up first for the next question. And a number of members of the audience have asked about social emotional needs and safety of children who are different. I've seen a question about how in the current environment is this district proposing to protect LGBTQ students, and another question here, how does the district respond to the executive order requiring parents to be notified if their child discloses they are transgender or gay? So I guess the overarching question is, what is the school board's role in helping the superintendent ensure the social emotional needs of students are taken care of in the schools?
That's a tricky question, and again, a complex one. We do a good job paying attention to the social emotional learning of our students and helping them navigate differences in peers. One of the first books they read, all 4 of my kids have, is a book about a child with one eye, for example. Wonder, yes. So the school board has a role in guiding towards making sure that our students are treating their peers fairly, and that's part early intervention, it's part support. As to the second part of that question about the executive order, we are bound by some laws that we cannot control, whether we think they are fair or otherwise, or smart or otherwise.
Ms. Howard Primes.
So what I believe is that we should create an environment that supports all students. I believe social emotional learning is very important. I believe in wraparound services for our students. I think that is important, and I can personally relate because I am a mother of a daughter with ADHD. I actually wrote a children's book about it because a lot of times I felt like she was misunderstood sometimes in her classroom setting. And so what I've been trying to do is go around and just talk to school districts again and parents and students about the importance of learning about our children who may learn differently. And I think that is so important for all of us to provide those support services for all students.
I think that the schools need to reflect the values of the community. And in Cleveland Heights and University Heights, we have long traditions of sort of being a safe haven and a great landing pad for people who are not welcome everywhere else. And that includes a lot of these kids and a lot of their parents. And I think that it is reflected in everything that we do. And it's more than just flying the pride flag and having a crosswalk that's a rainbow. It's actually the conversations that happen in the classrooms every day, and sometimes those conversations are between a student and a teacher, and we are bound by federal law, but we are also bound by a conscience, and we need to trust our teachers, and we need to love our kids.
Thank you. Switching now to a perhaps a rather different topic, and starting with Ms. Howard-Primes. If resources permitted, would you support offering more high-quality preschool slots? Even if that weren't possible, what do you envision doing to support families with children under the age of 5?
Well, again, I believe that preschool lays the foundation for our students. I am the recipient of someone who had the opportunity to participate in Head Start. I think I was probably in one of those first or second classes of Head Start. So I know how important it is for all of our students to receive a nice, solid education before they get to school. So I completely support preschool. I know how important it is. We understand, I know we hear all these things about the importance of reading and vocabulary, and all of that foundation is laid when our students start in preschool.
For Mr. Hotchkiss-Lilly, the question is, if resources permitted, would you support offering more high-quality preschool slots? And even if that weren't possible, what do you envision doing to support families with children under age 5?
I would support expanding our pre-K programming, financially permitting anyways. There are things that we can do that are not full-day pre-K slots. We can provide more limited hours. We could use perhaps a model of a co-op, for example, where they're only in class 2 hours a day, 3 days a week, which would stretch our dollars further in that way. But it is an incredibly important time, as Kathy said, for kids, and as she said, lays the foundation for their further education.
So the answer to the question is, I believe in universal pre-K across the board. If money was not an issue, I would go all in, and I would encourage every family to enroll their kid for all-day pre-K. The numbers are there. It is clear as day that the earlier kids get into the schools, the better they do. Unfortunately, finances are not unlimited, and it is expensive, and it is always on the list, and it is tragic. And this is really one of the reasons why we need to continue going to Columbus all the time when they are putting out these terrible bills that attack public education and attack our kids and attack our teachers' unions.
I think at this point we will shift to funding, since that came up in answer to these questions, and I think there's a great deal of interest. I will say that the League of Women Voters voter guide, the candidates were asked some questions about school funding. So some of the questions have been answered. The questions that have come in from the audience are, well, school funding in Ohio is known for being very complex. What can you offer about your ability to navigate this maze and understand and make good judgments about the funding issues before the board? School funding and juggling budgets is not for the faint of heart, so I guess that's what this question is addressing. And I think this goes first to Mr. Hines.
All right, the biggest challenge is the time. So having served on the Board of Education on behalf of taxpayers and our kids for 8 years, this has probably been the single biggest focus of my time, and I'm so grateful for my colleagues on the board for letting me push as hard as I have in Columbus. The truth is that since 1991, which was the last time we had a Democratic governor and a Democratic legislature, funding has fallen and scores have fallen. And so when somebody used the word navigate, I thought, well, we just need to keep navigating to Columbus, because that's where it comes from and that's where the problems are. And that's what we do really well, by the way. We're starting to call Columbus Tiger Nation South. and they know us in the State House, and they know our kids, because when we bring our kids are incredible, and they are the best posters for why funding is so very important.
Sour Primes.
So as you indicated, school funding is very complex, but this is how I see it. I see it as a stool, okay? So there are 3 legs on that stool, okay? So we know it's the federal government that provides funding, it's the state, and then it's our local taxes. And of course, if one of the legs is severed off, then things are going to be a little lopsided. And that's where we're headed, in that direction. When we look at all of it, like the taxes, when we look at local taxes, we look at state taxes, and we look at federal funding. I just read something today where the administration is getting rid of additional grants. I just read it today. So with that, it is very, it's not fair. And I do believe what Dan said, it's why we really have to fight and advocate for fair school funding, not just throughout in our community, but throughout the state and throughout the United States.
So obviously, fair school funding is not something that we can control on a local level. It's dealt with predominantly at the state level with a very limited degree of federal funding. So the only way we can control our income is levies, and the only way we can control our outflows is strong financial stewardship. I do want to note that the property taxes that we all dislike are a direct result of a state policy in lowering income tax across the past decades. And the reason for that is you only have so many buckets of money: sales tax, income tax, and property tax. And if you lower one, another one has to rise to be able to pay for the same amount. And that's why schools have less money generally. We're getting less funding from the state income taxes and paying more in property taxes.
Thank you. Following up on that, the next question is also about funding, and I'll continue with you, Mr. Hotchkiss-Lilly. Property taxes are an issue in Ohio. There are efforts in the State House to do away with property taxes. The questioner asks whether you support this. I would ask, what is your view on the effort to do away with property taxes? Starting with you, Mr. Hotchkiss-Lilly.
It is madness. There is no, it would be so catastrophic to every level of government, aside from maybe the state, that nobody knows how it would work. Nobody has any answer to what we should do if that ballot initiative was passed. There is no money coming from anywhere else. We wouldn't be able to get anywhere close to the funding to operate the schools or the city. It is madness.
So I believe it's unconstitutional to even do something like that. So no, I do not believe in the fact that we should get rid of property taxes. Because remember that example I just gave you. We need all 3 agencies to fund our schools. And we need the property taxes to help fund public education. And again, I do believe that all students deserve an education.
It's a fraud. And, I'm sort of known for saying that the folks in the Ohio legislature are great for solving problems that don't exist, but they're not so good at the other ones. And this is a perfect example. What they've done is they've started to promote, the ruling party in Ohio has started to promote this idea of eliminating property taxes so that the adults in the room, the other side, are having to stand up and support property taxes, which everyone hates. It's a scam. And I have actually asked Representative David Thomas on Facebook 50 times, probably in the past month, I'm kind of trolling him, to simply explain how this is going to work, and he's never answered the question.
Staying with the question of funding, one of the issues with the property taxes concerns tax abatements granted to local developments. And it's the questioner's understanding that the school board has a role in deciding whether to approve a particular instance of tax abatement. So what questions would you ask? What criteria would you consider before making a decision on a property tax abatement for a new development? And I think this one goes to Ms. Howard Primes first.
The tax abatements. So I believe that first we have to work closely with an attorney. Because when you start thinking about tax abatements and you're thinking about large developments and things of that nature, we have to get all the information. So I almost feel like I can't really give a solid answer on that until I have all of the facts. But I do understand the fact that tax abatements, they do support and they help our schools. And so with that, I do understand that we have to go in there open-minded, but also we have to negotiate because we are working on behalf of our students here in Cleveland Heights, University Heights.
Okay. Mr. Hotchkiss-Lilly, when a developer comes to the school board asking for some form of tax abatement, what criteria do you consider before making a decision?
So just kind of generally, abatements and tax increment financing is just kind of the cost of development these days. And I understand that there is some unfairness about that, right? We live in our houses, we have to pay taxes, and the person who built a house next door and got an abatement, they don't. They have to pay a minimal tax. But development doesn't happen without certain incentives. And development can be very important for propelling the city forward instead of stagnating. So what question would I ask a developer? You need to know what they're making on it. They're just not going to build if you really try to pull on them.
Okay. Mr. Hines.
Well, I suppose that really where you begin is where you begin with everything as a member of the Board of Education. That is, how does this impact our kids? And so a city can give 100% abatement to a developer for 15 years. Anything beyond that has to come through the schools, and the schools can go up to 30 years. And so I have approached it with the simple, how's this going to affect our kids? What's this going to bring our kids? And for instance, at the Top of the Hill development, the district was getting around $20,000 a year from the parking lot, taxes on the parking lot. But when we abated the property, that made that property much more valuable, and we look forward to receiving about 10 times that, around $200,000 of increased value and income into the district as a result of that abatement. So that's what I look at.
Okay, thank you. Let's see, everyone's done that one. Another question. Old buildings. We have a lot of them in Cleveland Heights, University Heights. Some communities around this one are closing some of their old schools because it's too expensive to maintain or upgrade them. How do you think the board should approach the issue of aging facilities in the Cleveland Heights, University Heights schools? And I think we're starting with Mr. Hines on this one.
So I think there's actually two questions in there that hopefully we'll get to. One is, what are we doing with the buildings that we have closed? But then we do have a discussion of our aging buildings, specifically our elementary schools, some of which I just think we're really talking about air conditioning. Some of our buildings are air conditioned, some of them are not. The problem that that we run into is that it would be something around $16 million to add air conditioning, or perhaps more, to add air conditioning to some of our older buildings, and we just can't do that. And so, what we do is left, right, repeat, and we do our best.
Okay. The issue of aging buildings then, Ms. Howard Primes.
So I believe that first we would need to do a survey assessment to see, as Dan indicated, can we actually utilize the buildings? And if we can utilize the buildings, perhaps we can think about even selling the buildings to other organizations. I know what happened in Coventry. I thought that was actually good, what they were trying to do. And there were other businesses that were opened up to utilize that Coventry building. But I have, been doing my own research, and I know that, for an example, one of the buildings we use is used for the service, I believe. It's used for storage. And we need that, and we need that building. And then for some of the buildings, if they are not being occupied, I think that it's always something that we can put on the table and just be open-minded.
Finally, Mr. Hotchkiss-Lilly.
The physical requirements of the district should be reevaluated every so often. The buildings themselves should be reevaluated, but we need cost-effective solutions. We can't tear down and put up new buildings just because they don't have air conditioning. We don't have the money, and even if we did, that wouldn't be a good use of the money to me. And one of the reasons I'm running is because we need good financial stewardship. We have possibly even less funding in the future. We have, no one likes to ask for a levy, and that we would like to avoid for as long as we can as well. So we have to live with what we have, but make the changes that we can responsibly.
Okay, thank you. Switching now to another topic, we've had a couple of questions about safety in the schools, specifically about training students to deal with the issue of guns. Another question, given the recent gun incidents in the schools and the call for teachers and parents for stronger security measures, what is your view of technology like metal detectors, x-ray scanners, and so forth? And beyond equipment, are there other measures we can take to enhance the safety of our schools? And I believe I start with you this time.
So last year there was a number of gun scares at the high school, and in general I feel like metal detectors are not great. It puts kids into an environment at the very start of school that might seem kind of prison-y, perhaps. But I support that we did put them in because the safety and security of our kids is the most important thing. We definitely don't want parents sitting at home worrying that their children might not come home at the end of the day. So we did make the right call there, and unfortunately, even though I don't like the feel of them, it is kind of a requirement.
Mr. Hines, yes.
Okay. So last year was tragic. At the beginning of the year, we had some gun incidents. And I had fought hard for years against installing metal detectors at our doors because I felt that they would reinforce negative preconceptions about our kids. But to be honest with you, those kids took the choice away from me last year, and so we had to go with the installation of the metal detectors. It is worth pointing out, though, that the see something, say something policy that is just sort of built into the culture in the Heights schools worked every single time. And that is about relationships between students and the adults around them, trusting relationships, and it really saved the day multiple times. And this is why I'm also promoting a gun safety curriculum, K-12, because we have more guns in Ohio than we have people, and we need to train our kids how to live in that environment.
I believe safety is very, very important in our schools. I believe that our students want to feel safe, as well as our teachers and our administrative staff. So I do believe that metal detectors are needed now in schools. Unfortunately, we're just living in different times, and we want to make sure everyone is safe. And if that is a way to help deter someone from bringing in guns or something violent, I'm for it, because I am for the safety of everyone in those buildings.
Then, staying with you, Ms. Howard-Primes, as schools need to plan to develop computer literacy within the student body, what strategies are there for maintaining and increasing skills in social interaction? This is a question from the audience, and I think what we're talking about here is our technology-based children and their screen time, and focusing them on social interaction among each other to the extent possible.
So I believe that too much screen time is not good for our students. And I actually do believe in a policy that our students' cell phones should be locked up. I know some people probably don't believe in that, but I do, because I know that firsthand it interrupts our students' learning. So with that, I would like for our students to communicate, talk to one another, use their voices instead of their phones, instead of texting, to their friends that are sitting right next to them. So I do believe that we should actually curtail some of that screen time for our students.
Okay. Mr. Hines?
It's a big problem. Our kids are losing the ability to interact as humans with the people around them. And that's tragic. And I think that the fact that they lived through COVID for a number of years is sort of where a lot of those troubles incubated. I'm proud to say, though, that we're doing great work with that. The high school and middle schools are phone free. Kids deposit their phones on the way in into a Yonder bag. They are locked up. The kids carry their own phone in that bag all day, and those bags are unlocked at the end of the day. And so this has been a real success. It's been a success in terms of eliminating the distraction of the phone, but it's also been a success in terms of helping to support the redevelopment of those healthy social skills between kids.
And Ms. Rogers?
Phones and screen time have been kind of a plague that was accelerated by COVID and have cost real learning and social learning. My own kids personally don't have phones, even my 13-year-old, and I think the district policy to pocket the phones for the entire day was important. What my 13-year-old reported was that there are less fights, less physical fights, less online bullying, and less disruption because of them. It's, a kid pulling out their phone and showing a video to somebody else during class. I think that direction is the entirely right direction.
staying with technology, and for this one I'll start with Mr. Hines. Are you familiar with the district's policy addressing the use of artificial intelligence by students? In your opinion, what's the most important thing about artificial intelligence we should be teaching students?
The most important thing about the policy and about AI overall is that it is a very, very fluid experience, and there is not going to be a policy that's going to last more than 6 months, because AI, and as all technology, is constantly evolving. And this is the real work of real teachers and real schools every day, that we just have to be flexible and we have to be able to shift on the fly. AI is an incredible opportunity for teaching and learning, but it is also scary, and we have to be very careful with what personal records our students are adding to the AI sphere. And so we as a district need to have policies in place that ensure that the AI platforms our students are using officially in our schools are protecting their privacy today and down the road.
Again, I also agree with Dan that artificial intelligence, it is actually something that is fluid and evolving. And so we're all just now, learning a lot about artificial intelligence. And I do agree that we do have to put policies and procedures in place for our students, because I am learning that when you start putting all of your data in that information in artificial intelligence, they track it all. So it's something that we're all learning about, and we're growing, and I think that we all are going to have to just continue to be fluid, but definitely we need policy and procedures in place for AI.
Okay, Mr. Hodgkins, Lily.
So we are playing catch up on AI, and we will not stop playing catch up on AI. The cat is out of the bag, and there's no way to prevent students from using it in any real way. There are ways around the AI checkers. It's just not something that the district can prevent. That being said, we can adjust our curriculum. So a lot of colleges, for example, are going back to in-class pad paper testing instead of essays that you would do at home. This sounds terrible, but we might go back to oral exams, something well in the past at this point. But we have to make sure our kids are learning the things they need to. That said, AI offers real productivity opportunities as well, and so we have to make sure that they're prepared to take advantage of those too, because they will be called on to do so.
Okay, thank you. Question has come in about special education. It's another aspect of the school system, and so the question is, what efforts have you made to better understand the needs of special education students and promote special education in the Cleveland Heights, University Heights schools? And I think we start with you, Mr. Hodgkins, Lily.
So that is a very broad category, right? Special education can mean any of hundreds of different things to different students. I will say that our special education rate is far higher than other districts. We have something like 50% higher, almost over 20% of our students have special needs in some way, whether that's an IEP or 504. And they are, as I said, regardless of background, every student deserves the opportunity to have a meaningful life and and success in academics.
Okay. Ms. Howard-Primes, what efforts have you made to better understand the needs of special education students, and what is the role of the board?
So I do believe that, special education is important. And over the years, how I approach this and what I do and to encourage parents that I've worked with in the past is to work directly with your teachers and the principal when they're putting together whatever type of plan that you might have. For an example, if your student has an individual educational plan, IEP for short, you just want to work with your teacher, you want to work with the principal. I think it's very important because Tom, he mentioned, a lot of our students here in the Cleveland Heights School District, they might have a plan for what, I just use IEPs for an example, but there might be other needs. Some students might need just additional time or whatever. But this is where I try to really talk to and empower parents, encourage them to work with the teachers. Because if you work together, with the teachers and the principal administrators at your school, then you could put together a nice plan to help your child succeed.
Thank you. And Mr. Hines?
So I'm a teacher, and so I interact with students who have special needs all day, every day. And so while I may have a more familiarity with it, really the lesson is that it's just critically important. This year we are celebrating the 50th anniversary of IDEA, which unfortunately our current Secretary of Education could not explain. Didn't know that it stands for the Individuals with Disability in Education Act. The thing about IDEA is that it has never been fully funded. And so I was in DC about 4 weeks ago for a long weekend lobbying Congress, and fully funding IDEA is one of the big focuses of that work that weekend, and we'll continue to do that.
Okay. Is that everybody? I'm beginning to get tired. Is that everybody? Yes. Okay, good. Thank heaven. Okay. Another question that has come in relates to this also. We've had a couple questions about testing. Is there too much testing? But this one is a little broader. School rating systems often don't give a complete picture of a school. What elements of our schools do you feel should receive more visibility? And I'd like to start with Ms. Howard-Primes. So the question is, school rating systems often don't give a complete picture of a school. What elements of our schools do you feel should receive more visibility?
So the testing is actually tricky because I do believe that it gives us a snapshot, and just a snapshot of what's going on, in our schools. So with that, I believe that we need a rating system, but I don't believe that that's the only thing that we should base everything on. Like, for an example, when it comes to the report cards, and because if you dig sometimes into the data, it can definitely support a student, and I've seen that. If you go, sometimes we just see a whole snapshot for the whole district, but we might not see the snapshot for the particular school or the particular classroom or that particular student. So sometimes you can pull out that information to help a student succeed, but I don't believe in over-testing. And I think that's where we're getting to that point. Because I remember, okay, I have to stop, so thank you. I was getting ready to keep going.
Okay. Mr. Hotchkiss-Lilly, school rating systems often don't give a complete picture of a school. What elements of our schools do you feel should receive more visibility?
We have a lot of really great extracurriculars. The school district has a, kind of not a metric, which is measures that matter in the strategic plan. And we can't measure everything quantitatively, right? So we do have to pay attention to the things that also matter to our students and that our school district does really well, such as community services, participation in the arts by our students, our music program, our athletics. We have had some state championship teams. Other, like academic challenge, they had a lot of success. capstone projects even by successful students. There's a lot of really great things that we can be paying attention to other than those ratings.
Okay, Mr. Hines.
When it comes to things that I would love for the district to sort of shine a bigger light on, one of the things that immediately comes to my mind is the wraparound services that are available to our students. We have right now at Cleveland Heights High School a fully functioning pediatric office that is staffed by members of the staff of Metro Health and was made possible partially due to a $500,000 grant from the state of Ohio, because they have been made aware of the partnerships that we've been working for a number of years. This is the sort of thing that in a community that is majority poverty, having that health clinic can change the trajectory of a community. And so I really think that we should shine a brighter light on that and expand on that, use that as an incubator to go out into all of our schools with similar programming.
Okay. Thank you. Next question has to do with homeschooling. What are your thoughts on homeschooling and the role of the public schools in this activity? And I think I go first on this one to Mr. Hines.
I'm not a fan of homeschooling. I know that people do it, and I think that people do it with clean hearts and greatest of intentions. As a professional teacher myself, I went through a program at university that took me a number of years and has qualified me to teach one thing: American history at the high school level. The idea that people can instruct their children, you know, K through 8, K through 12 at home is just too much of a stretch. And I've seen too many kids come into my classroom who have been homeschooled for a number of years, and I just have to use air quotes when I say homeschooled. And I just see how far behind they are. And this isn't because the parents didn't have great intentions. It's just that it just doesn't work. I haven't seen many successes. I would encourage people to really think twice about making that decision.
Okay. Ms. Howard-Primes.
So I do know some families that have homeschooled in the past, and some of the students have done well, and some of the students have not. But one of the aspects that I think is missing when it comes to homeschooling is that social interaction with your peers. So with that, I think that every parent has the right to educate their child the way they want to educate their child. However, I don't believe in homeschooling only because of that aspect.
Mr. Hotchkiss-Lilly.
I have seen cases where it worked out really well, and those parents are just better people than I am. Like, I just can't imagine, you know, trying to teach, you know, 4 kids, as Dan said, every subject in any sort of expert way. We have public schools because we can't do it all. We are entrusting our kids to people who are experts at what they do. And, you know, again, sometimes I'm sure it could work, but as Kathy said, the social emotional learning component is much more difficult. And sometimes it's just code for not doing school at all, which is rough.
Okay. This question concerns engagement with the community generally. Would you be open, as a board member, to holding periodic open forums with the community so that questions and concerns could be raised with an open dialogue? And I'll go first on this one to Mr. Hotchkiss-Lilly. As part of your school board responsibilities, would you be open to holding periodic open forums with the community?
Absolutely. You don't need to wait for a forum to talk to me, though. You can call me. My number is all over the internet because of my job. So give me a call. I'd be happy to have a forum if it was a more comfortable environment. But our job as school board members, it partially is overseeing the budget, partially overseeing the treasurer and superintendent, but really we're community liaisons. We have to be able to, as elected officials, be able to interface with the public. So, absolutely.
Mr. Hines?
Absolutely, yes. I
Sorry.
believe open forums are very important. Actually, community engagement is part of my platform. And one of the reasons why I included that, because I think too many times when our people or residents live in the community, but they don't have children in the school districts, they tap out. And so they have this misconception, sometimes negative sometimes, about our schools. That's why I would encourage people in the community to come into the buildings and volunteer. And I know that this works in other school districts, and I would highly encourage our Cleveland Heights, University Heights residents to visit the schools and volunteer.
Finally, Mr. Hines, be open to holding periodic open forums with the community.
I'm open to it. There's some challenges with open forums when it comes to the Board of Education and council, et cetera, too. And the biggest one is sunshine laws. So we are very limited on what we can discuss when we have more than 2 members present. And so it can be difficult that way. And also when you're on the board, very often what people are most eager to talk about is things that that you can't always talk about. The things that are in the news, if there's something that's hit the news recently, then that's always top of mind for folks, but it tends to be something that is developing very quickly and we really can't say a whole lot about it. But absolutely, I'm game as long as everybody just sort of understands the limitations that we operate under.
Okay. Question coming in. School board is something that one does. It's an important function, but of course, everyone has a life also in addition to the school board membership. So Ms. Howard-Primes, the questioner asks, do you commit to attending all school board meetings? What other school and community events do you plan to attend in your school board capacity?
Well, if elected, I do plan to attend the school board meetings. That's one of the responsibilities of being a school board member. And of course, I believe that it's important in being visible in the community. I can't say, I can attend every event, but of course, I would definitely want to be visible in my community.
Thank you, Mr. Hotchkiss. Lily?
I think attending all the board meetings is important. That's the job. I can't say that in the next 4 years I won't miss a meeting. Sometimes you get sick. Sometimes you have a wedding or something. But yes, absolutely. In terms of events, I am already at a lot of events. As Kathy said, it's important to be part of the community, and I am. My oldest daughter is a lunatic and is in like 20 sports, so I'm at every sports event you can think of. My second oldest daughter is in plays. I'm at all sorts of events, and I'm happy to chat at these events too if you see me.
Okay. And Mr. Hines?
It is a lot, and I love it. I love going to these events. I say it the same way all the time. Serving on the board has really been one of the great pleasures of my life. record of attendance at board meetings is pretty good. I had open heart surgery a couple years ago, and I only missed one meeting. But it goes beyond that. It also goes to going to see the musicals and going to the band concerts and going to the kindergarten readiness night events and the open houses. And this is the joy, because this is when we actually get to interact with kids doing the stuff that gets them so excited and thriving. And this is why I loved my experience at Heights High. When I was a student there, involved in the choirs, and my son being involved in the baseball team that beat Shaker twice, and because I raised him right. So yeah, I absolutely love it, and I can't wait until these guys join on.
Okay, thank you, all of you, for your answers to this diverse array of questions. The audience question I had last year is, what do you want to accomplish during your term on the school board? And I think the answer to that question will be held in the closing statements, which I am about to encourage our candidates to present. So we now are ready for closing statements. Each candidate has 2 minutes for a closing statement. We begin with Ms. Howard Primes, and then Mr. Hines, and then Mr. Hotchkiss-Lilly.
Well, again, I just want to thank everyone for coming out, and I look forward to getting to know many of you, or all of you, as we continue to campaign for this position. I believe this moment is the prime time to act, unified for our Cleveland Heights, University Heights School District, and our community. So why do I believe you should consider me for this school board? Well, first of all, I'm very passionate. I'm passionate about our students' success. I'm resourceful in finding solutions to challenges. I'm a woman of integrity, leading with honesty and fairness. I'm motivated to ensure our district thrives. I'm experienced with a proven track record of results. And I'm a servant leader, always putting students, our parents, our teachers, and our community first. Again, my name is Kathy Howard Primes, and I humbly ask you to vote for me on November 4th for the Cleveland Heights University Heights School Board. Thank you.
Mr. Hines.
It's nice to stand up. I want to begin with thank yous as well. I want to say thank you for this evening to the League of Women Voters. I want to say thank you to the colleagues on the board for the past 8 years, some of whom are here, who I have learned an incredible amount with, and done some work that I'm very, very proud of. I also want to thank these two, who will make incredible additions to the Board of Education, and I look forward with optimism to working with both of you. In terms of what I want to do, I want to make sure that our kids continue to thrive, continue to have more and more programs available to them so that they go out and enjoy the world ahead of them and improve the world ahead of them. I want to continue to pursue fiscal responsibility and to stretch our levies as long as we possibly can, and I think we've got a really good track record. I want to continue to hire some of the best people on the planet to come and work at our schools and for our district and for our taxpayers. We've done a really good job with that as well. You know, as I mentioned earlier, this is my community. I am a Heights guy to the bone. I love this community, and I just enjoy giving back to the community and to my neighbors who I am serving on this Board of Education. And so I humbly request folks to support me and vote for me and give me one more term and get some more good stuff done. Thank you.
Ann?
Before I blow past my time limit again, I'll start at the end, which is to thank you all for coming and thank the League of Women Voters for having me. As a proud graduate of the district and a parent of 4 children currently in the district, I have a personal stake in the success of our schools. I will listen. I will be a calm and reasoned voice on the school board, and I will always put the children first the guiding question for every school board member, for every decision they make is, will this improve our students' outcomes? Will this help the kids? I think a top quality education is possible in Cleveland Heights, and I would like to make that very obvious to the families who are here and are deciding what route for their children's educations. And I would like to make it obvious to the families who are considering living here that this is a really great place to live. I'm asking for your vote and your voice in November to help shape a strong school system that we can all be proud of. I also want to thank my colleagues Kathy and Dan, who will continue to be, in Dan's case, thoughtful and responsible leaders of our school district. Thank you.
This concludes our forum. Candidates, thank you for participating. Thank you for your interest in public service. I'd also like to thank the League volunteers who worked on this. We have usher greeter Janice Foster and Patty Smith, question runner Patty Smith and Shelley Bloomfield, question screeners Jill Tatum, Judy Beeler, Kathy Petrie, and Paula Goodwin, timers Kathy Flora, Jennifer Beer, and Robin Coslin, sign-in literature table Betsy Tracy, and candidate sign-in Blanche Valenci. It takes a village to produce a quality forum, which is one of our goals as the League of Women Voters. I thank all of you in the audience for attending. A strong democracy depends on informed and engaged voters like you. If you value events like this, consider joining the League. lwvgreatercleveland.org will tell you all you need. A recording of this event will be posted on our YouTube channel, which will be on the website, again, lwvgreatercleveland.org. It is League policy to post the entire forum. We do not grant permission for anyone to use excerpts for any campaign purpose. We encourage you to use the League's candidate and election information services. The online vote411.org is a very easy tool for all your election information. You just put in your address and it brings up all the races on your ballot and the answers of the candidates to our League questions. And then you saw earlier today, the Cleveland Heights University Heights chapter does publish a printed voter guide that will appear in the Heights Observer on October 1, should be available in the Heights libraries and many other places. Most important, do not forget to vote on Election Day, or by mail beforehand, or early vote in person. However you do it, make sure that you do. Together, we can all help keep democracy strong. So thank you for being here this evening.